Okay, if you're new to today, if you weren't here yesterday, all of the speakers are being asked four very important questions. The four questions are, what instant skill or talent would you like to have? What would you save if your house was on fire? Who wins in a fight, pirates versus ninjas? And what is your preference, cake or pie? Now, I need to clarify something. The pirates versus ninjas, I should have been clearer yesterday. And here's the thing. We're talking about the cinematic version of pirates and the cinematic version of ninjas. The cliched cultural version of pirates and the cliched cultural version of ninjas, not the actual historical ninjas versus the, Somali pirates or something like that. So that's the idea. I should have been clearer. I apologize. Okay, Seth's answers are the instant skill he would love to have would be to be able to play classical guitar. The thing he would save from his house is Henry and Rat Dog. He said, yeah, well, I told him it's not people or pets, but he was insistent that Henry and Rat Dog is who he would save. Ninjas, no contest for stealth reasons, he said. And of course, cake or pie, he said pie, preferably pumpkin. His talk is called My Biggest Gripe with Christianity for the Moment. Please welcome Seth Andrews.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? This conference is populated by deep thinkers and famous educators and great minds. I'm not one of them. I'm the guy who took 37 years to realize that human beings couldn't live to be 900 years old. I'm that guy. The guy who once believed in a floating zoo filled with camels and penguins. I was that guy. And I didn't travel from Oklahoma today to bring you any great wisdom. I don't have any great wisdom. I didn't bring you any great instruction or knowledge. I honestly, if I'm to be absolutely transparent, I traveled over 1,400 miles today to vent. All right? I came to let off some steam, to talk to a friend about my issues. We're all friends here, right? It's like a self-help meeting. This is going to be a moment between people who genuinely can lean on each other. So while you won't receive any new insight, you will not leave this speech a better person. Perhaps it might be therapeutic. Many of you will have encountered some of the struggles that have been driving me crazy lately. The struggles and the challenges and the questions and the frustrations in your own lives. And you might find my presentation a bit therapeutic. We might together achieve a kind of catharsis. And so if you don't mind, all of you today can hear my troubles much like my bartender. All of you are now my bartender today, listening with the calm and empathy of a friend, okay? I'm occasionally asked what my biggest gripe is with my former faith, Christianity. For those who don't know who I am, a quick introduction of me. My name is Seth Andrews. I was born into a fundamentalist Christian family in Oklahoma. My parents met at Oral Roberts University. My mother is a Greek New Testament study teacher. I was raised in Christian schools. I was a Christian broadcaster. I was an FM radio broadcaster for 12 years, 10 of those on one of the most popular Christian radio stations in the United States. I left radio in 2004 to become a video producer for a company that served largely churches. And finally, late in life, I began to kick the tires and realize that my inherited faith, my assumed faith, may not be all that true after all. And so now I speak out. People sometimes ask me, what's your biggest gripe with Christianity? And I often give the standard response, starting with the Bible, otherwise known as the Goat Herder's Guide to the Universe. The error-filled, inerrant Word of God, the hugely, violently immoral good book. The Bible's a real mess. You know it. I know it. We all know it. At the moment, in my present condition, this is not my biggest gripe with Christianity. I'm frustrated with the prosperity preachers and the prophets, and the Jesus celebrities out there, those who declare from their posh mansions and private jets that Jesus or God is whispering into their ears so that they might whisper into ours. Yeah, they make me crazy, but they're not my biggest gripe at the moment. Not my church's claims about evolution. A lie of the devil, part of a vast scientific conspiracy to kill God. The misinformation and miseducation about evolution makes me crazy, but it's not my biggest gripe. Not the church's warnings that I shouldn't think too much. Not the indoctrination of children. Really bothers me because I was one of them. I've done whole presentations about the church's targeting of young minds. I've discussed it on many occasions. It's not the biggest gripe I have today. Religiously motivated bigotry. It's something I stand passionately against. It makes me so angry. I'm just livid about it. But it's not what I want to vent about today. They're all legitimate problems worth discussing. Any one of those might be number one on my list tomorrow. But today, what angers me today, what frustrates me today, my biggest gripe today is this. Christianity made me talk like an idiot. It didn't sound stupid at the time. You know, the Bible verses and the doctrines and the sermons and the touchy-feely platitudes, they sounded enlightened. Compassionate, reasonable, thoughtful, deep, profound, and yet the words that came out of my mouth made no sense. Let's start here. We just came off the holiday season, and my family at their dinner table, before the first bite can genuinely be enjoyed, it's customary to say the blessing. Any of you come from a family that does this? Okay. And the prayer says something along these lines. Oh Lord, bless this food, nourish it to our bodies, and our bodies to your service. Amen. Now, the act of praying, giving thanks for and blessing the meal on its surface seems like a wonderful, laudable act, does it not? I mean, we stop, we reflect, we bow, we join, we offer gratitude. If you only go skin deep, it seems like a beautiful gesture, something we should never protest. This is much like the meal that is served over the holidays at a lot of families, including my own. You've got the turkey and the stuffing, and you've got the veggie tray and the bread and the mashed potatoes and gravy and some pumpkin pie for dessert, whatever. Well, let's just hang out here on the mashed potatoes for just a moment, okay? Now, the ingredients will vary depending on the chef, but you and I can pretty much, when it comes to mashed potatoes, count on the basics, right? We can count on the basic ingredients. If you and I were to analyze the specific content, ingredients, calorie count, fat, sodium, carbs, vitamins, etc. beforehand, and then we say the blessing, what measurable change happens to the food? Are there fewer calories? No. Is there less sodium? No. Are there more vitamins? No. Tell me honestly, how is an unblessed potato any different than the blessed potato? What resulted from the act of blessing the food? Based in which religion, which spirit or spirits, which god or gods? Is there a detectable aura over the potatoes? A divine glow? After the food has been supplemented supernaturally. What is this blessing, we ask? What form does it take? And they say, stop, Seth. It's a beautiful gesture. The gesture, the symbolism of it is what's most important. It brings people together. It demonstrates gratitude. But to whom? Human hands planted, cultivated, harvested, prepared, and served everything on that table. How often are these people ignored? Completely ignored as people give gratitude to a ghost. Does it frustrate anybody else as much as it frustrates me? Right? Thank God all you want, but why have we ignored the people who did all the heavy lifting? If I can paraphrase a friend of mine named R.N. Raw, it's the equivalent of saying this: Lord, please magically enchant this food. Christianity made me talk like an idiot. Oh, Seth, you know, he just doesn't get it. He's missed the whole point. Just doesn't understand. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. What the hell is this supposed to mean? In the faith, we used to say this a lot. It is a multi-purpose tool of sanctimony. It's the Swiss Army knife of platitudes, right? You can build someone up, you can tear someone down, you can laud them, you can insult them, you can do whatever you want. Perhaps there's some truth into the saying out there that says, inside every bless your heart is a teeny tiny fuck you. What does that experience feel like? Bless your heart. Bless my heart? What's that feel like? Whether I'm in the room or on the other side of the world, you bless my heart. What does that do for me? What would it do for you? Bless your heart. Bless his heart. 3 words that say something without really saying anything. Here's another one I was guilty of. Someone's going in for a medical procedure. And they say the prayer, Lord, we ask that you guide the hands of the surgeon. Now let's do a hypothetical using some fictional examples. This is Dr. Patricia Blackwell. Decades ago, Patricia went to college to complete a 4-year pre-med undergraduate. This involved intense studies in the fields of chemistry, anatomy, biology, and physics. She then studied her ass off to pass the medical college admission test before being accepted to medical school. For another 4 years of anatomy, biochemistry, pharmacology, physiology, and so much more. Studied for and passed the United States medical licensing examination and immediately transitioned into the next phase of her education, which was a 5-year residency, complete with 16 to 24-hour shifts, and the 60-month sacrifice of everything and everyone else outside of medicine. But she wasn't finished yet because she had another 2-year fellowship in her specialized field of surgical oncology. This represents thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours committed to her education and training, and accrued student loans higher than the asking price of many of our homes. Dr. Patricia Blackwell has been a practicing surgical oncologist for 26 years. She's also an atheist. This is Dr. Stephanie Frazier. She is a devout Christian. She loves Jesus. She believes in miracles in the 21st century. She believes God speaks and listens and answers prayer. She believes 100% in the healing power of her God. She is a dentist. Now, if we were to go to our believing friends and family members and we were to ask them which would they choose to care for their cancer-ridden child or sibling or spouse or friend, who do you think they'd choose? You think they'd choose the dentist who had a one-on-one link to God's healing power, or would they choose the atheist who was actually trained in the appropriate field? For any surgeon in any context, I find it hugely revealing. By the way, how is the surgery without the prayer of intervention different than the surgery with? Right? Do surgeons notice a difference? At any point, is the physician in the operating room and he just looks up and says, shit, we should have said the magic words. We forgot the sprinkling of fairy dust. We skipped the incantation. We didn't say the magic words. Christians love this popular depiction of Jesus in the operating room, physically guiding the hands of the surgeon. But if you remove Jesus, what happens? Is the surgeon not performing the same operation with the same level of skill the same way? If you've ever played, by the way, the game Operation, you'll love this meme I found on the internet where Jesus says, you hit the side, sorry, you're out. If Jesus, not the human surgeon, but if Jesus is the great healer who made the lame to walk, and the deaf to hear, and the blind to see, and the dead to rise again. The Jesus that tells us in Matthew, whatever we ask in prayer, we will receive if we have faith. The Jesus of John, who said if we ask it in his name, he'll do it, so that he could be glorified and that the Father might be glorified. Why wouldn't we skip the surgeon, eliminate the middleman, and avoid the time, trouble, stress, pain, and often devastating expense that comes with invasive surgery conducted by human beings? Why wouldn't Jesus heal immediately, directly, personally, with his own hand? Why not? Why are organizations like Florida Hospital declaring via billboard that faith is greater than cancer while charging huge fees for the physical treatment of cancer? How can we tell which maladies are cured by medicine and which are cured by miracle? When I was in Christian radio, I was the endorser for a while for a chiropractor in town. Chiropractor. And his business tagline was, "Doctors treat, God heals." What the hell does that mean? What does it mean? Doctors treat, God heals. Somebody recently sent me a link to a Facebook page called Stop Cancer, Start Praying. One of the posts revealed a Praise Jesus miracle. Happened right in front of us. I must tell you, God does heal cancer. My wife had stage 4 ovarian carcinoma. With prayer and faith and chemo treatments for a year and a half, she is 100% cancer-free. Is this our standard for miracle? How do you know where human intervention ended and divine intervention began? What do we sound like? Here's another miracle. A jaw-dropping demonstration of God's miraculous power. This was big on social media. This was in the wake. There's an event that happens once a year where believers congregated flagpoles at their schools and courthouses to pray for the United States, and it's called See You at the Pole. And there was this viral story that says, watch what happens when this group of kids prays at the flagpole. And there's a video clip. It may be a little hard to see, but keep your eye on the flag in the middle, right? As the other flags droop and become silent, the American flag and the state flag become dormant, but the Christian flag, Jesus' flag, continues to wave. And this was called proof that we are a Christian nation and that Christ watches over us all. As this commenter on Reddit said last year, I thought was interesting, God of diminishing returns, 10,000 years ago, creates the universe, men and animals. 5,000 years ago, he parts the Red Sea. 2,000 years ago, a virgin birth and resurrection. 200 years ago, he heals the sick less frequently as medicine advances. 20 years ago, he speaks to televangelists, usually telling them to ask for money. 2 years ago, he appears on toast. 2 days ago, he causes a slight breeze. The God of diminishing returns. But the story said the Holy Spirit is often referred to as a breeze of the wind. For them, this was the miracle. What do they sound like? When I was in Christian high school, we'd take prayer requests before every class, 6 class hours a day in front of every class. We'd raise our hands. Everybody would give a prayer request. We'd have a prayer. And invariably, somebody who was traveling would say, we're going on a trip somewhere. We'd like traveling mercies. Lord, please protect us as we travel. Please protect us, Lord, as we travel in a vehicle designed with cutting-edge technology developed by human beings. May the Lord keep us safe as we travel. We hear these today. Right, as we buckle up in our seat belts, and as we use our front, rear, and side cameras just in case, and as we engage the front and side airbags just in case, and we buckle up our toddlers just in case. In the year 2015, 38,000+ people died in car accidents in the United States. Over 4 million people sustained injury. A huge number of these people were Christians. This makes no sense to me. Why would a protected child of God not be immune from car accident, death, or injury? After all, Jesus is the ultimate airbag. Not a sparrow will fall from the ground apart from our Father's care. So the second we get behind the wheel as Christians, we should be able to disengage every safety feature in our car and be absolutely worry-free. Psalm tells us the Lord will keep us from all harm. He'll watch over our lives and our coming and our going, both now and forevermore. The Lord will keep me from all harm. But maybe, my friends, maybe we shouldn't invest too much energy into wondering about a potential negative outcome. After all, everything happens for a reason. Oh. I get why people are driven to this sentiment. I get it. I understand why people so often hold so desperately to the notion that there's a divine puppeteer somewhere making reasonable results out of all the unreasonable things that happen all around us. I understand the human inclination to do that, and I used to believe this kind of thing with all my heart. Of course, now I don't say everything happens for a reason. I talk about cause and effect. Things have a cause, you know. I see action and reaction. I don't believe in karma. Karma in the sense that each shall be rewarded or punished based on their deeds. Balance, justice, payback, reward. There are many people who believe, it all balances out. Everybody gets what's coming to them. You know, for them, they dine at the Karma Cafe. At the Karma Cafe, they have no menus. There you get served what you deserve. Everything happens for a reason. Wouldn't that be something? If what was meant to be would always find a way, wouldn't that be something? The problem is, hey, karma, I know some people you missed. It doesn't work, does it? We all can think of specific examples of awful people who got away with it, and wonderful people who had huge misfortune and tragedy befall them. There was no equilibrium, cosmic equilibrium balance. There was no karma. The faithful shrug and they say, "Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be." It's all part of our destiny. And the problem of needless suffering really isn't a thing for them, you know. A church roof collapses in Nigeria. You know, there must be a purpose. Everything happens for a reason. A boy's decapitated on a water slide in Kansas City. Well, there must be a purpose. Everything happens for a reason. A lightning strike kills more than 300 reindeer in Norway. Oh, everything happens for a reason. 30,000 people will starve to death globally today. Everything happens for a reason. What kind of cocoon was I living in when I used to speak this way? It's all somehow part of a larger cosmic blueprint. It'll all just work out, and we know that all things work together for those who love God and have been called according to His purpose. This is the sort of bubbly meme speak that we used to have in the church. And the meme verse today is loaded with this stuff. You know, God never shuts one door without opening another. Actually, when He closes a door, He opens a window. Well, sometimes God has to shut the door, but there is no window. Until God opens the next door, praise Him in the hallway. When God closes a door, open it. That's how doors work. It's Jesus at the door, knocking so that you might open and allow Him in. Unless it is not Jesus and He's already in the room and it's the devil knocking at your door, and then you ask Jesus to go and answer. I mean, it's just maddening to hear this type of stuff. Have you guys seen that Betty Bowers meme with Jesus at the door? Jesus is knocking at the door. He says, "Let me in." Why? So I can save you. From what? From what I'm going to do to you if you don't let me in. What the fuck? Thanking the architect of hell for saving us from hell. It's just weird. What do we sound like? What did I sound like for so long? And we wear the stupidity in public. Christians love their T-shirts, and so did I. This is an actual T-shirt. Warning, exposure to the sun may prevent burning. When I was a believer, we talked incessantly. We just talked nonstop about faith. And it was considered something of value, you know, a tremendous compliment. He's a man of faith, she's a woman of faith, or a child of faith. When you see politicians running for office, what do so many of their commercials say? He's a person of faith, she's a person of faith. This is a way for them to build their personal equity with you in terms of reputation, which takes us back to the Bible. Hebrews tells us, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. A statement designed to sound profound while making absolutely no sense. Faith has substance because it reflects what we hope is going to happen, and the substance of hope serves as evidence for that which we do not have evidence for. I don't understand at all. And when I quoted this scripture, what did I sound like? I had been taught since my earliest memories, God wants our faith to trump doubt. Bible tells us, the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Don't doubt. You're either under attack, or you're weak, or you're just in sin. Thomas was the one disciple we were told never to emulate, right? It was never be like Thomas. It was always be like John, be like Paul, be like Peter, like the rock. Our parents never said, you need to be more like Thomas. John 20:25, the other disciples therefore said unto him, we've seen the Lord. But he, Thomas, said, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. He was a true skeptic. Show me the evidence. And what was Jesus' response? Jesus said, because you've seen me, you've believed. Blessed are those who have not seen me and believed. Faith that it happened, faith that it's real, faith that it's right. It's the essence of faith. I envision, I think, I suspect, I imagine, I believe, I want to believe, therefore I know. Yet the late Christopher Hitchens was spot on when he said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. When I was a Christian, a devout the Bible demanded huge leaps of faith. Huge leaps of faith. Maybe it was the unicorns. Or an earth that had corners. Maybe that was it. Or Yahweh's command that only those who have intact testicles are worthy of entering the congregation of the Lord. What a bizarre story that is. Stories of 900-year-old humans and blood magic and sea monsters and giants and witches and supermen who gain power based on the length of their hair in a floating zoo filled with camels and penguins. Incest and slavery and misogyny and infanticide, genocide, an orgy of jealousy and vengeance and blood and pain. Sold to and by Christians as the source of all good, what do they sound like? Now, if I can take a quick detour on the idiocy of the Bible real fast, I want to share a resource that's great for demonstrating the absurdity of it all. I don't know if you guys have heard of a guy, his name is Brendan Powell Smith. Using Legos and Lego characters, Brendan Powell Smith painstakingly literally recreated Bible stories in the Old and New Testament. We've gotten used to hearing Bible stories in their regular context, haven't we? Regal paintings and drawings and live action reenactments in our church. But these Lego-accurate depiction using toys actually blows this fresh air through the cobwebs and allows us to see these stories with fresh eyes. And let me show you just a few examples. Here is Yahweh creating Adam from the dirt of the ground. You can see a little dirt man there on the right. We've got Noah's Ark. All the animals are crammed inside the door. Little dinosaur head sticking out the top. Right? He built a stadium-sized craft at the age of 500 using only trees and tar. Meanwhile, Ken Ham requires $100 million in state-of-the-art construction technology. It blows your mind. But I digress. Never mind. The classic story of Abraham, right? Abraham this close to executing his own child. Look at the look on Isaac's face. Holy shit, Dad, what are you doing? Another story out of Genesis, Jacob wrestling God. Right? And Jacob somehow is winning. He's wrestling God, but he's winning. So God cheats, and he injures Jacob's hip before crying out, hey, we need to quit. The sun's coming up. Let me go. And Jacob says, I will not until you bless me. So Yahweh blesses Jacob, who then becomes Israel, and Jacob limps off into his blessed life. Here is God killing the firstborn of Egypt as one of the plagues designed to unharden the very heart of Pharaoh that God had hardened himself 5 chapters earlier in the story. So you can see the Lego axe and the children. How about this poor guy who was picking up sticks on the Sabbath in Numbers chapter 15? He was stoned to death, little Lego stones and some blood all around him, as Yahweh had ordered. I love the story about David and Saul and the foreskins. This is David actually removing Philistine foreskins as a wedding dowry for Saul. And yes, we do get a shot of the actual foreskin delivery Here's the beautiful story of Job, afflicted with disease, cutting at his own flesh while sitting on a pile of shit, Lego shit. I have the story of the angel appearing to Mary with the story that she would give birth to Jesus with the unfortunate quote, "The Holy Ghost will come upon you." We have the crucifixion between the two thieves, and then we have Jesus blowing the trumpet as he comes again. Matthew 24:31, he will send his angels with a loud trumpet blast. Now you show these versions of the Bible stories to the people who believe them as literal fact, and what's the reaction? They're like, my dad. They get offended. How dare you challenge what I believe through faith? And then they start the tap dance. Well, in another context, it makes perfect sense. If you have the Holy Spirit to guide you, it makes sense. If you were properly educated in the Scriptures, it makes sense. You're only looking with the wrong eyes. There's a Twitter user named Hellboy online, and he posted this, and I screenshotted it. I hope it's okay with him. But he did a great job of synopsizing what we just saw. He said, the Bible explained, good stuff real, bad stuff ignored, weird stuff allegory. How convenient is that? You got apologists like James Dobson who attempt to explain why God doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense that God doesn't make sense. After all, if we, as mere mortals, as mere insects, could understand God, he would not be God. The more nonsensical he is to us, the more his godhood is proven. He's confusing because he's God, and he just wants you to trust and go with it. Dobson then conflicts with other apologists who declare a revealed God. Have you guys seen this paradox? Some people say faith, 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 and other people say proof, proof, proof. Here's a great example. Dr. Prothero will like this one. Dr. Stephen Meyer released a book called Signature in the Cell. This is one of many books given to me by my religious family to prove that there is a designer. Meyer works for the Discovery Institute, which is an apologetics factory selling the notion of intelligent design. He wrote this book, Signature in the Cell, and his pitch is that there's digital code in our very DNA, which points to a designing intelligence, proof that we were designed and not evolved, or not evolved without a designer in play. Of course, he seems unconcerned with a God that would hide the proof of himself for 200,000 years until humankind could develop the technology to decode the genome. Born before the 21st century, you're pretty much hosed. When Meyer makes this assertion, what does he sound like? And Prothero wrote a great review for Skeptic, where he essentially revealed that Meyer has no firsthand training or research experience in the field he was writing about. He has no background to talk about molecular evolution. His degrees lie elsewhere. I found that, and if you get a chance to read the review, it's absolutely fantastic. Here's another proof for God, posted on an apologetics website called BeliefNet, and they bring out the quantum. Quantum physics proves God's existence. Well, this sounds promising. They managed to shoehorn in the obligatory Einstein reference, and the article says that science has discovered a sublayer of physics that involves small, mysterious units of matter and energy, and they're bewildered. We don't understand it, okay? And they have proof now of God. As these quanta particles don't behave according to the known laws of physics, meaning we're seeing what we cannot see, the particles have proven the biblical God by faith. The proof is that we have faith. It's a self-refuting claim. BeliefNet apparently thought this was a scientific coup de grace, essentially declaring God exists because I don't understand things. It's hidden, it's proven, it's a matter of faith. He reveals himself. We must discover him. He's hidden. Faith, proof, both sides canceling each other out. What do we sound like when we speak like this? What did I sound like as a true blue believer for all those many years? Why didn't I realize what I sounded like sooner? Much sooner. What happened to me? How did I get locked into this nonsensical feedback loop, you know? I beat myself up sometimes. You know, you ex-believers just think, what took me so long? You get locked into something. I call it Jesus speak. God watches, but watch out. He protects, buckle up. God heals, call the doctor. God is revealed, but go find him. God clearly works in mysterious ways. God is love and jealous and vengeful. Give God the glory. Give people their responsibility. God gives wisdom, but he uses the foolish things. Ask and receive. His will be done. Of course, the answer's simple. I wasn't really given a choice. I was raised in Christian church by Christian parents, surrounded by Christian doctrine, Christian scriptures, Christian music, wore Christian t-shirts, had Christian friends, was surrounded by constant 24/7 reinforcement. Trained to act and be a good Christian. One of the things I hear often from my religious parents is, "This is not how we raised you." What's that really say? They were raising an echo of themselves. They wanted someone who would speak and walk and talk and act and vote and proselytize like they did. The idea of having a child that was his own person, that didn't really occur to them. Learned behavior. I was this kid. And I grew to be that adult, unfortunately. My whole life was kind of a theological hand-me-down. I was instructed that my own brain was a problem. You guys ever heard someone say to you, "You're thinking too much. You're trying way too hard here." Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean. Lean not. Whatever you do, don't rely on your own understanding. A well-propagated lie somehow is perfect truth, and that God's agents and his prophets and preachers are actually telling the truth. I was taught to be proudly ignorant, not just ignorant, but proudly ignorant of basic science. You know, it's funny, I was watching the original incarnation of Cosmos on PBS, I think it was 1980. And I was in a devoutly Christian home, and we were all sitting around Cosmos. I'm surprised my folks let me watch it. But they were standing right over. So whenever something about evolution or evolved life or the cosmos or the Big Bang came up, they would immediately run interference, and they would say, "No, that's biblical. No, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong." And finally, I was in my 30s when I finally discovered and fell in love with Carl Sagan and the poetry of his work and the magic of reality. It was just an amazing thing. For so long, though, I'd been taught to mock him before I knew anything about him, to mock the arguments before I'd ever really read or understood them. I was cut from somebody else's cloth, pretty much. I excused my own bigotry through sanctimony and self-righteousness. I just released a speech about my own best friend coming out as gay back in the 90s, and for a while I cast him off. It took me a while to finally come to my senses and realize he wasn't the problem, I was. And now I'm really ashamed. I'm ashamed of the way I acted and spoke, and now I want to speak out against it. To reject the wonders and the discoveries written about in thousands of books so that I could adhere blindly to just one. I like that Alejandro Jodorowsky quote that says this: "Birds born in a cage think flying is an illness." Me. That was me. I was 37 years old when I first started to spread my wings, so to speak. I was 38 when I finally sort of flew the religious coop. And I came late to the party, my friends. I came late. I am a late bloomer, but for what it's worth, I'm here, Despite all my flaws and all my failings, I want to speak and act in ways that make sense, that are rooted in the evidence, that are not chained to bad, destructive ideas and debunked myths. And I want to pledge myself to reasonable words and actions over unreasonable words and distractions. And as best I can, I want to acknowledge the cook and thank the physician and support the science and encourage the skeptic and pursue the solutions that don't cheat me or dilute me or enslave me or make me a poster child for illogic. Carl Sagan was absolutely right. For me, it's far better to grasp the universe as it really is than to persist in delusion, however satisfying and reassuring. In other words, like so many of you, my friends, I just want a personal relationship with reality. I wasn't going to finish this way, but while I have everybody, As I was getting on the plane to come here, I received another long email from a religious parent. And they were proving God, proof in faith, proof in faith. They remind me every day of the price that many of you have paid in your own lives for being your own people, for acting and reacting on your own terms, for not living an inherited belief system, for not carrying the mantle blindly, for deciding that life is short and you're going to figure it out and you're going to ask the questions and you're going to kick the tires and you're going to be tough. And the minute they tell us that we can't ask about this thing, that's the first thing we ask about. And the minute they say this institution's off limits, that's now the first institution we challenge. And the minute they say this dogma is sacred and beyond bounds, that's the first one that we actually tackle. Many of you have paid quite a bit of a price for that, and I totally understand. And I just want to leave you with a word of encouragement, all right? The truth is that so many people never get out of the feedback loop. They never get out of nonsensical speaking and nonsensical living. They never get a chance to truly own their own lives. And the fact that you have, despite the prices that you have paid with family and friends, with spouses, with children, despite the penalties that have been imposed upon you by religious cultures and societies, you have decided you're going to live an honest life despite the consequences. Life's too short. And I want to admire you for that, and I want to extol and admonish to continue. Your life belongs to one person, you, and you've earned the right to live that life on your terms. Your individuality, your curiosity, your challenge, your courage is a beautiful, wonderful thing, and I'm honored to count myself among you. Thank you all so very much for having me.
Seth Andrews, ladies and gentlemen.